The Dallas Cowboys go to Denver and everything falls apart. The Broncos beat the Cowboys 44-24. Today we'll walk through how everything unraveled, my take on Dak's MVP case, our playoff hopes, and what has to change. Dallas did enter the game with a lot of injuries on the defensive side. I still don't think we would have been in this game. For context, the Cowboys still haven't beat Denver since 1995, and we haven't won in Denver since 1992. That streak continues. One of the first plays of the game, Bo Nix throws a pass that is way off, and then the rookie Trikweze Bridges intercepts the ball that was intended for Pat Bryant, and we turn that takeaway into a field goal after a false start call stalls the drive. And that is one of the stories of the game. The pre-snap penalties, we lead 3-0 with about 10.5 minutes left to go in the first quarter. This is also around the time where Pat Surtain exits the game. He comes back briefly, but then is ruled out in the third quarter. Not that it even matters. Our offense couldn't get things going regardless. He ended up with left shoulder dislocation, and I think he'll be out for like 4 to 6 weeks as of right now. I don't remember how long it came out that he would be out, but that's not our player, so it doesn't matter too much. And the Broncos seem like they're going to be fine. And then later in the quarter, we get a defensive offside on Dallas, which wipes out a second down and completion. And then a few snaps later, rookie RJ Harvey rips a 40-yard touchdown run, and Denver leads 7-3 with about 8 minutes left in the quarter. And as we progress through the game, there is a holding call on Denver, but it doesn't matter because Bo Nix hits Troy Franklin for a 25-yard touchdown where the coverage looked very lost. They didn't know who to cover. Dallas comes back with a Javonte Williams 1-yard touchdown. Denver leads 14-10 at this point. On a later Dallas red zone trip, illegal formation at the Denver 11 wipes a positive play for us. Again, penalties are the story of the game. And then we have a 32-yard DPI on Alijah Clark, which puts Denver in great scoring position. 4 plays later, they have a direct snap to RJ Harvey, who has a breakout game against the Cowboys. That seems to be a reoccurring theme. Young players and rookies having breakout games against us. And this defense, as evidence, Pat Bryant gets his first NFL touchdown, 24 yards from Bo Nix. Denver leads 27-10. And then before the half, Dak Prescott is intercepted, trying to get all of the yards at once. I think we had enough time to kind of dink and dunk 1 or 2 more plays. I don't know why they don't just take the points there, go into the half with a little bit of momentum. That way, we can put the best kicker in the NFL, or at least one of the best kickers in the NFL, in position to give us points going into the half and maybe create a little bit of momentum. But that is not what they decided to do for some reason. If we would have taken the 3 points and came out of the half scoring like we did, Javonte Williams scores from the 1, we would have been down 27-20. The game would have looked a little bit different. There were 2 defensive pass interferences called on Riley Moss on this drive alone, if I'm not mistaken. I did see a lot of stuff about him and Pat Surtain going in, how they were going to lock up George Pickens and CeeDee Lamb. With Pat Surtain out, that can't really be proven. Their strategy was to put Pat Surtain on George Pickens at the beginning of the game, kind of neutralize him, and then they were going to double team CeeDee Lamb, which did work at first, but we're not going to know how the whole game would have went. Most likely even worse for the Cowboys. But the Broncos answered back with a field goal. We are down 30-17 instead of 30-20. And then this was when Dallas had a decision to make. It was 4th and 6 at the Dallas 44-yard line, and Dallas decides to punt. Given how the defense is playing, I think you have to kind of go for that or set yourself up better earlier in the possession, where it makes the coaching staff or where it makes Schottenheimer and Dak more comfortable to go for it. Even from 4th and 6, I think it was worth a try. Given how the defense was playing, I don't see why we wouldn't. I know that might deflate the defense because it may seem like you're not trusting the defense, but it doesn't really matter either way. So why not go for it? And then after that, the game was pretty much over. Dallas loses 44-24. Dallas was flagged 9 times for 80 yards in this game. False starts, illegal formations, offsides, and encroachment in key spots. When you play a game like that against a team like Denver, who is a very good team, you're just not going to win games. Denver finished with 6.4 yards per carry rushing for 28 times on 179 yards. They had more drives than third down plays. Once again, Dak needed to be Superman in order for us to win, and we cannot ask that of Dak every game. Even the best quarterbacks in the league don't have to do that every game. I think this game kind of finished his MVP case, if I'm being honest. They would have to win like 5 or 6 straight, and Dak would have to go back to playing how he was, because the record is going to matter, even if he does have really good stats throughout the season to finish. Even now, he's still like top 2. He's still top 3 or 4 in most of the categories for the quarterbacks in the league, but without the wins, it's not going to matter. And looking at our schedule, I think we have the Cardinals next, then we have a bye, then we have the Raiders and Eagles. I think those are 3 winnable games. Even if we win 3 in a row, we're going to go through the roller coaster as Cowboys fans. Again, people are going to think that they're back and they're doing good and this team is good, but I don't think that's the case, especially on the defensive side. We are 3-4-1. We would be 6-4-1, which looks good, but after that we have Kansas City. I think that's on Thanksgiving, and then we have the Lions, and then we have the Vikings, and then we have the Chargers, Commanders, and then we finish off the season with the Giants. I think that could be a 5-game losing streak, and we can definitely lose against the Eagles. That could be a 6-game losing streak right there. Maybe beat the Giants depending on how good they look towards the end of the year. I don't think it's even a guarantee that we win against the Cardinals. I think the only team I see going forward where I would think it's more guaranteed than not that we win is the Raiders. If I'm being honest, our current ceiling looks like it's 8-8-1. Even if we had win that game against Green Bay, we would be 9-8. I don't think that gets us in the playoffs. Going back to this defense and how the roster was built on that side of the ball, young QBs like Bryce Young, the wide receivers, Tedrow McMillan, Pat Bryant, RJ Harvey, everyone's having their first against Dallas, like first big game of the season. Russell Wilson had a big game against us and made it seem like he was prime Russell Wilson still, and then he ended up getting benched a few games later. So our priority definitely has to be defense heavy when it comes to the draft. With those first 4 draft picks probably, unless like an elite blue chipper offensive rookie falls to us, we have to take the defensive side of the ball. And what I think would help is either we re-sign George Pickens, or I've seen people say we should trade him. I didn't even know he could be traded since we traded for him this year or before the season started, but if we can, maybe that's something we do. There's not really any rumblings about George Pickens getting traded, so I don't think that's going to happen. The Cowboys can tag George Pickens and maybe hope that next season isn't as productive, and hopefully we have a full healthy CeeDee Lamb, but I think either way he's going to get paid. Whether we tag him and he gets signed by a different team, or he just walked this offseason for the biggest contract he can get, which wouldn't be from us, I would assume. But if we can re-sign George Pickens and Javonte Williams this year, as long as they keep producing and looking good for us, then we can definitely focus on defense when the draft comes up in free agency. The coaching hasn't been bad, but I think for that third quarter, 4th and 5 or 4th and 6 situation, we have to go for it given how the defense looked. I don't think we can be scared in those positions, because after that it just seems like the game was over. We'll see how the rest of the season goes. To be honest, it's not looking good from my perspective. The only thing that would give me a little bit of hope is if we win these 3 in a row, and then if we somehow beat the Kansas City Chiefs, I think that would spark something for me going forward in the season. But even then, I think we can almost lose out after that, no matter what. But you never know what would happen. Maybe Dak comes back as Superman for the rest of the season, and this was his one bad game. But to me, that is like the highest ceiling, like fantasy land, that would happen for us. I think the realistic ceiling is 8-8-1. We end up very mid, with a mid draft pick and a late draft pick in the first round from us and the Packers, because they're looking phenomenal with Micah Parsons, of course. Although I'm not a super hater of that trade, to be honest. Us paying Dak, Micah, and CD, and I think that was going to be a huge portion of our cap going to 3 players, which it wasn't going to be sustainable if we wanted to build a decent team overall. But then again, that goes back to Jerry Jones not paying players when they're supposed to get paid, waiting until the last second for the drama, for the clicks, for the views, whatever it is, and forcing his hand, or forcing the organization to make tough decisions when they shouldn't have to. I mean, look at the Lions. The Lions they re-signed Aiden Hutchinson. They've been re-signing all of their players timely, which kind of lessens the max contract that they could get, but that is how you run an organization. They are doing really good over there. I think as long as the Jones family is in charge, that's probably how it's going to be, which is unfortunate. But yeah, that's all I got for this game. If the offense isn't being the best offense in the league, the defense cannot support us through the game, and we lose 10 times out of 10.